As a moving business owner, your day starts with a plan. But what happens when your movers don't show and that plan falls apart? Last minute no-shows. You're left to bootstrap, jumping in as an extra body. Yet sometimes, even that's not enough. This isn't just a disruption, it's a barrier to your business growth. Introducing Moving Force, your on-demand moving team. With Moving Force, say goodbye to no-shows and hello to peace of mind. With reliable, on-demand staff ensures you're never undermanned, turning your operational nightmares into a thing of the past. Moving Force, where every day is moving day and every move is smooth. Empower your business and keep growing without missing a beat. Join Moving Force today and move forward with confidence.
All right, y'all. Sorry that we're late. That was my fault completely. But we are here. So welcome to another episode of Mornings with Movers. We actually got a guest in the building today, Josh Troche. Hopefully I said that right.
Troche, you did
Troche.
so well with that. Troche, yeah, I'll give you a B plus.
Okay. And of course we got Ryan in the building, y'all. You know, it's never a good show when we ain't got Ryan.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to give you a little bit about Josh, he's a versatile professional with over 20 years of experience in sales, technical assistant, and video. He's cultivated a strong online presence, amassing over 19,000 YouTube subscribers and achieving numerous videos with 1 million views. Leveraging his expertise, Josh founded Pedal Stomper Productions, a leading podcast production company specializing in helping businesses reach their target audience and elevate their marketing efforts. He's worked with hundreds of companies, including international brands, to develop and launch successful podcasting programs that drive results. Josh is also a creator of a comprehensive video podcasting course for businesses at, I'm going to mess this up, Cuyahoga Community College, sharing his passion and knowledge to empower entrepreneurs and marketers. So, wow. So hopefully I hit it on the money right there, Josh. But if you want to a little bit more in depth or so like that.
No, it's so funny. The bio there, and thank you. And you got really close. It's Cuyahoga. So you're like, once again, a millimeter off there. So you're in good shape. It's funny when, like, we talked initially about doing this. So a big part of where I built, like, where I learned how to do the video, where I learned how to do the photo and stuff like that was in trucking. And I worked with a lot of movers, and I worked with a lot of other people in logistics types industries like that. And found there's so many things that are, I mean, once again, it's business is business. There's specific pieces to it, but from that logistics side, I'm always impressed with what people can do.
Okay. And Ryan, I know you've been gone for a little while. I think, was there a conference? How did the conference go last week?
Yeah, so I wouldn't even call it a conference, right? It was unlike anything I've ever personally attended. And I've been to 50 plus conferences, I would say, over the past year and a half or so. Like, it was probably one of the most memorable, remarkable, magical moments. And again, and I'm not saying this because, it's a conference that we threw it. I mean, it was more of a leadership summit, right? We had 40 of the largest moving companies in the United States all compile into Napa, throw the guards down, take out all the egos, and literally collaborate on how we can push this industry forward. And I can't tell you a time where you've had that much firepower in a room all together, but not only just all together, but truly collaborating, raising the hands, asking questions, taking notes, sitting through every session. Nobody disappeared after breaks, after lunch, or it was truly insane, man. And obviously having a great setting in Napa, just made it even better. But the feedback we're getting from the event has been outstanding, which I'd love to share some of that with you offline here. But yeah, it was a great showing, and super proud of the team for pulling something off of this magnitude in such a short time. It was really good.
Yeah, no, it sounded really amazing, and they had a crazy lineup. of speakers.
Speakers were insane.
You know,
that was
the what? Well, I don't know how you say this. CPO of DoorDash.
The co-founder and CEO of DoorDash in the room, which that was an incredible. I mean, to talk about their journey, how they started, and I won't go into the wild, crazy details, but DoorDash started as like a class project, right? It wasn't even actually even in the cards for them to do so. They were tasked with solving a problem locally, and they weren't sure what to do. And they started talking to a couple local businesses, and they found that the food businesses, where the smaller mom and pops, they wanted to get their food out there, but they just couldn't, right? Because there's two of them. So if they open up delivery, they might be taking deliveries all day long, but there's nobody left in-house to handle everything else. So it literally started with, they had 8 menus, 8 PDFs on a website, PaloAltoDelivery.com, with their cell phone number. They didn't market it. They did this. It was like 2 days later that the phone rang. And the phone rang while Stanley Tang was in class in a lecture hall. He picked it up, and it was a guy that wanted to order food. And he was like, sure. So what he did is he called the restaurant, ordered the food for the guy, paid for it on his credit card, picked it up, went to the house, delivered it, and then collect cash. That was the first Palo Alto delivery. And then obviously from there on, it just escalated like crazy. And all they were trying to do is get an A in class, and they turned it into a $90 billion organization. But, just to hear some of the hurdles and bumps, and they got to a point where they had a choice, right? There's a big game. Stanford had a game this particular weekend. It was raining out. It was like the worst possible thing, right? Nobody wanted to go to the game because of the rain, the weather. But everybody wanted food, and DoorDash was brand new. So during that time, they took on like 1,000+ orders, right? So absolutely flooded the system. And some people got their food on time. Was it like 60 or 70% of the orders were 2+ hours late?
We used to struggle with customers' item size and weights and cost for inaccurate estimates. And we also ultimately had to cancel some jobs. It was when we found Live Switch Contact. Their video tool for quoting changed everything. We saved $5,000 in the first month alone. And our only regret is we didn't try them sooner.
So a lot of people's first experience with DoorDash was horrible, right? So what did they do? They got to the cross point where, hey, do we refund about 40% of the orders that day? 60% of the orders, which ultimately was like 50% of their cash flow that they had. Or did they just kind of sweep it under the rug and give a little discount back or something like that? And they were like, no, it's about the consumer. It's about this. It's about doing the right thing. So they dumped half their bank account, which in reality could have put them under, to make right by the customer. And it was a few weeks later that obviously ended up getting a nice little cash injection, and now they're all over the planet. So really cool story. He was a great ending to the show. But I'd say Jamin Stefko, the previous communications officer of Nike and now the CEO of Well Done Communications, was incredible with the narrative and strategy and all things behind that. Like, who are you? What is your story? Tell it. And what really kind of stood out to me is, when Nike was going through their struggles, a lot of people back in the day thought Nike was for athletes, right? If you weren't a runner, if you weren't in shape, you probably weren't going to the store and spending $100 on a pair of Nike shoes, right? So Nike got that wrong. So if you remember, they came out quite a while ago, a long time ago, with a tagline: if you have a body, you are an athlete, right? That was kind of their narrative. That was their piece. And it opened up a whole new world, because you had people that were 500-600 pounds rolling into the store buying Nikes, right? So, and then obviously it turned into Just Do It and all those amazing things. But yeah, man, speaker lineup was incredible. I haven't heard speakers like that throughout my moving industry piece. Maybe one that came close, but it was, the entire lineup was tight. The CRO of Samsara and general partner of Andreessen Horowitz also spoke, which was incredible. Talked on culture and all things magical like that. But I don't want to talk too much about.
I hear that.
But it was crazy, man.
You let me know really, next time in advance, and I'll look to be there.
That's the beauty of this, man. It's a no vendor, no sale. It wasn't even a Subaru piece. This is about taking the industry giants, getting them into the room, and instead of letting the industry control where the industry is going, I'd say, let's grab the reins of this thing and let's have the industry take on. Let's have the players take on where the industry's headed. Let's start being reactive versus proactive here, and let's get this thing done. And I was blown away, absolutely blown away.
Gotcha. All right. So yeah, so Josh, I guess tell us a little bit more about what's your day-to-day like, and what you're into typically.
It's interesting, and I just to dovetail off of what you said, Ryan. I actually just got back 2 weeks ago from. I went through a program called 10,000 Small Businesses that's put on by Goldman Sachs, and there was 2,400 small businesses in DC 2 weeks ago. And same type of idea in terms of speaker lineups. We had Kevin O'Leary, we had Damon John, we had Ken Lagone, who started Home Depot. Martha Stewart was a speaker. So same idea. And I came back, same thing. Tons of different energy, tons of different ideas. And it was just so cool. It was the largest gathering of small businesses in DC. Which was kind of cool to be a part of. So yeah, I echo your sentiments on how good some of those conferences can be. For us, a big part of what we do is really getting in. And I love how you mentioned Ryan's strategy and stuff like that, because for us, we work with people in terms of looking at the strategy of what they're trying to accomplish. I hear so many people that are out there just like, hey, in order to market, we're going to boost it, or we're just paid Google ads. And I'm like, who are you marketing to? What are you trying to accomplish? Are you trying, I mean, we all want to make the cash register ring. I mean, that is kind of the end goal. But how are we going to get them to do that? And so it's that strategy of, are we talking top of funnel? Are we talking middle of funnel? Are we talking of getting people over the line? Because you say different things to those people at those separate points. So for us, a large part of that is finding podcasts to help, in many cases, kind of with that top of funnel area. And then through that, we'll use the other areas of the podcast to build in that maybe mid funnel or lower funnel to be answering those questions once you're finally engaging with those people. So for us, podcast production, and in many cases, I sit here in one of my studios. We have a couple of studios in the area, and we work with a ton of people that record remotely the same way you guys too. So I love it because I get to hear, I mean, we've got dental podcasts, we've got medical podcasts, we have a car racing podcast, we have all sorts of cool stuff that we get to hear and talk about. I mean, it's, to me, every day is a new adventure, and I absolutely love it.
Are you in search of a side gig? Get ready to land the ultimate side hustle. Don't let this opportunity slip away. Join Moving Force as a mobile mover. Enjoy the freedom to set your own hours, earn excellent income, and be your own boss. Apply now. Download the app for free, available on the App Store. It's time to make a move, both figuratively and literally.
Now, if it comes down to, it isn't work. It's something you enjoy.
It's still work, but yeah, I still enjoy it.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think y'all know what I'm saying.
I know. I just had to give you a hard time.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. So you feel like your wheelhouse is like really focused on helping people in the podcast space, or like just leadership as a whole?
And so before this, I was COO and marketing manager for the semi-truck dealership network. I oversaw 5 semi-truck dealerships. And one of my biggest things with that was culture and making sure that, I mean, we really kind of flipped the culture of that company on its head within about, the CFO and I put a concerted effort in about a year to really change how the employees saw the culture of that. And it's the same thing within my current company. I have a couple of remote editors. I have a couple of social media managers. I'm just bringing on another podcast producer to help out. And for me, it's about creating that culture that, I mean, it's as I joke, it is still work for everyone. And most people would rather be on the beach with their toes in the sand. But in the same sense, it's creating that culture of where people want to work. They don't dread coming into work. And that's the one of the podcasts that I co-host is called The Business Fix. And my co-host and I talk. She runs a fractional HR firm. So she's the one where when they've really screwed up their human resources, they call her. So she's got some great war stories. But nonetheless, is her and I focus in both of our companies on that culture. So we try and help people through that podcast too, to figure out like, what can we do to make it so people want to show up in the morning? What can we do that to make sure that we're getting the best out of people, and what to do to make sure too that we're getting the best people. That makes just such a difference in the output and everything. And at the end of the day, especially as a business owner, how you feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And that's why you should hire a moving force. Oh, I didn't mean to throw that out there, yeah. But but
Love it.
but no, that actually absolutely makes a lot of sense. And the one thing I feel like you hit on was getting people to show up. And that's been the biggest downside with the moving industry. Whether moving owners choose to blatantly mention it or to the point where there's no point in even mentioning it anymore. It's just a norm that you have to work around. And hence why, again, Moving Force did come into place for y'all that don't know. But Moving Force was that on-demand team, is on that on-demand team for you guys whenever you guys are short-staffed last minute or just need extra bodies. But nevertheless, coming up with a culture that can, entice your guys to come to work. Like we had a basketball gym in our warehouse, which I wasn't really fond of. But I seen the taking that a lot of these guys were taking to it, and being able to play basketball in the morning or whatever the case is. And I wasn't fond of it because I'm like, yo, if somebody get hurt right before a job, I'm probably going to be mad. But at the same token, it was building that company culture. It was building that connectivity between people where, hey, it wasn't just the A team versus the B team versus the C team. It was kind of like, okay, hey, we're all one. And maybe if we work together, if somebody doesn't show up on the A team and somebody from the B team has to work with the A team, that they don't lose that chemistry because they've been bonding outside of just having to ever work together in the field.
I personally love like the basketball hoop and hoop idea, because to me, granted, okay, yeah, there is that always the threat of, okay, someone takes an elbow to the eye and they're out for the day. But in the same sense, like with sports, the team building and camaraderie that can have, in terms of, I mean, I played soccer at a fairly high level when I was younger, and know that sometimes it is that little bit of a ribbing from a teammate that can help push you or can help pick you up. I really truly do love that idea. Sure, there's a risk involved with it. One of the things that I've seen when it comes to culture is so many people, they're so scared of something going a little bit sideways that they push people away because they're too restrictive. Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, and don't do this. Well, guess what? I mean, we're all still, I don't know about you, but I'm still a 9-year-old boy at heart. And if you tell me not to do something, I'm probably going to want to do it. If you set it up so there is a better alternative for me instead of doing the bad thing, boy, does that can make just the world of difference when it comes down to stuff like that. I've seen when supervisors distance themselves from people, and I'm like, no, that's the exact opposite. This is the time when you should lean in and be like, hey, what's going on? To me, all of this, I guess I would say my leadership philosophy. I had a great mentor who, I mean, I guess I would say kind of became a mentor to me later in life, but he told me that leadership is a very, very simple thing. And he says, you cannot say the first thing without saying the second thing. And as a leader, you say, here is where we're going. This is what we have to do. The second thing is, what do you need from me? He goes, 99% of the time, if you say, what do you need from me, and show that you're available to help, guys will be like, I got this. I don't want the boss around. I don't want him breathing down my neck. But if you show up for that and say, hey, how can I help? It makes such a difference in the amount of just support that people feel, that they're like, I mean, I have a couple of employees that I don't want to say they'll take a bullet for me. But in the same sense, I'm like, hey, Here's what we need to get done. What would you like? What are the roadblocks I can take down? And they're like, no, we got this. If they say, hey, we're finding an issue with this, great, I'll take care of it. And as long as I take care of it, it truly becomes a very, very different relationship where they feel led instead of managed.
Mm-hmm. I definitely agree with that. Go ahead, Ryan.
No, I couldn't agree more. I mean, obviously giving your people the tools that they need to be successful. I feel like being a leader of any organization, any business, I feel like your main job, right, is removing those obstacles, allowing your people, giving them the autonomy to make the decisions within their realm to propel that team forward. And I've always been a firm believer of now I've always led my team is from behind. You won't see me out there, waving an iron fist and banging on tables. I lead from behind, almost kind of like a shepherd herding sheep, we'll say, right? I'm the last guy in the line pushing forward because I'll never leave a teammate behind. But no, I love the conversation here.
Yeah. The one piece that I felt very prideful when I had my company that we did is a lot of people that we did hire, just like how the Gentle Giants did their thing out there, that Ryan, on one of our culture, a lot of the guys that we hire were all athletes. Whether they played football or whatever the case is, but a lot of them were into sports. So because we were in a market where football was everything, 4 seasons out of the year, you're playing football. Whether you're playing semi-pro football in the summer months going into the late fall, or you're playing flag football for all 3 seasons outside of that, fall, winter, and spring. So year round, you're somewhere playing football. And but the winter, because we knew that the winter slowed down moving in the Northeast, obviously because it's so snowy, flag football was indoor. We had an indoor arena. So we would just, at times, the moving company would pay to have a team put into the league for the winter. So everybody would, be able to come out on a Sunday, and for like an hour and just play football against somebody competitively, another team competitively. And we wouldn't be in the highest division. We would probably be in the lowest division, because obviously we just, don't practice throughout the year. So we're not trying to get, really lower morale, maybe get at least 1 or 2 wins in the season and feel like we did something. I don't know. And so the last season we put it together, we actually had, our team name was called Mac Attack. And the jersey was really nice. And my general manager was the actual quarterback for the team. And everybody else, played their role as whether they were linemen, receivers, whatever the case was. And we worked some guys in because we didn't have enough staff to really have a rotating team. So it actually ended up working out really great. And that was one of the things we was so prideful of, that every year, hey, if we could, we'll get into we'll have a team so we could play in the league and basically kind of still brand Max Moving Company as a team in the league as well, so that people will see, oh, well, hey, there's a moving company or a business out here. Maybe I might want to work for them as well,
Nice. It's funny. One thing I wanted to go off of something you said, Ryan. I loved how you said letting people make them decisions. One of the things that I see so many times with it, and Chrissy and I both have talked about this, people have the autonomy to make the decision, but the fear if they make a wrong decision is huge. And it's the same thing on the football field. I mean, if you make the wrong decision, it's funny, like you may get yelled at for 5 or 10 seconds, but no one's going to make you feel like you're going to get punted off the field. I see so many bosses and managers that will give people the autonomy. They're like, go ahead, make the decision. And if it is not the same exact decision that the owner or manager above them would make, they lose their ever-loving minds. And I always tell people, I'm like, look, was it the right decision or wrong decision? And how right or wrong was it? Is it so wrong it's going to put you out of business? Well, then, okay, make a big deal. If this is going to be a minor inconvenience for a couple of people, shut up, be like, hey, maybe we want to tweak that, and get on with your life.
I mean, don't you think, Josh, that ties into the overall culture of the organization as well? I mean, kind of that, the fear of failing. I think it's great to fail, but we must do it quickly. But I think that was the thing is we've always, hey, I'm giving you the time to make the decisions. If you fail and happen to make the wrong decision, that's okay.
Yep.
But how do we pick up? How do we transform? How do we move on? That was a culture that I grew up in. Now we don't always didn't have that culture. That's why I got some culture questions for you. You mentioned that you turned the ship around in a year. I don't know the size of the organization, but I'd say that's very, very impressive because it took us about 2 years with all hands on deck. But again, we had a very toxic, horrible, deplorable culture. Like it was this. Nobody knew anybody by name. Everybody was anonymous, right? I mean, the only way I knew people's names was the swear words that they were called as they were walking down the hallways. So I always like to say, innovation, cannot be delegated. It's got to start at the top. And to me, the transformation of this begins with that CEO's vision, I would say. And I think it just takes a massive mind shift, I would say, from running today's businesses to how are we designing tomorrow's. But what were the key moments or key points, or what are the key things that you did right away when you realized, hey, this culture is shit and we need to make that change? What was that first step, would you say, of really digging your claws in and saying, okay, it's time for a culture change here?
Asking was the first, not telling, but asking. Going to people saying, look, none of us are like, we all know this can be better. We all know this can be better for everyone else. I have some ideas and I'm in a position where I can help shift this. I need you to trust me a little bit and give this a shot. If we don't like this in 3 months, we're going to try something different, and go ahead and tell me. So that to me was the asking for the, hey, let's do this. And also I had to make sure that people knew that I was doing this in their interest, not mine. That to me was the biggest piece. Like, look, I know this sounds like work up front, but if we do this, I think you're going to find that this is going to be better on the back end. And so it was getting that initial buy-in and stuff. They used to, we had five dealerships, about 175 people, over 5 dealerships. And one of the things I still remembered is each dealership had a service department. And they would occasionally call each other like, hey, got an issue. But they would never talk. So I told them, I'm like, look, every other week, we're all going to get on a Teams meeting. And the way I arranged it was by saying is, first off, we're going to get on a Teams meeting. It's going to be Wednesday morning. It's typically the slow time for everyone. It's going to be half an hour, tops. That's it. That's all it can be, is half an hour. Second thing is there's an agenda that is shared with everyone. If it is not on the agenda 24 hours in advance, we ain't talking about it. Everyone needs to show up prepared for this. No one should be getting hit in the side of the face with something like, where the hell did that come from, in something like this. So we were able to get on these meetings and say, hey, look, I'm having a problem with this. And one of the other dealerships would instantly be like, oh, hey, we had that same problem. We fixed it with this, this, and this. Awesome. Done. They'll talk about it offline for 10 minutes and great. So it was showing people that, hey, 'cause, first off with those, it was like, who the hell wants to be in another Teams meeting every week? No one. I don't want to be in more Teams meetings every week. So it was that case of getting them to buy in, like, look, if we do this right, everyone's been someplace where you have an hour-long sales meeting on Monday morning where it's the sales manager. Yeah, I see you both kind of like, oh, God, yeah. The sales manager droning on, guys, we need to get out there and make more calls, go sell truck. And it's like, yeah, same thing you've said for the past 52 meetings. Thank you. Because there's no agenda, there's no nothing. And there was times where, like, the agenda was completely blank. And 23 hours before the meeting, I'd be like, we're not meeting. Have a nice day. There's nothing to talk about. We're not meeting. But it was getting that buy-in. It was, the biggest thing was being intentional about, hey, we need to improve this. I want to improve this, but I need your help too.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And I definitely was taking in some golden nuggets there, especially with the meeting agenda. Now, we used to have quarterly meetings. We didn't have like daily meetings. I know Ryan mentioned something like that, like pretty much go starter meetings for your guys.
Yeah.
But for us, we had quarterly meetings with our everybody, every department. Mandatory, no matter if it's summer months and oh snap, we're jam-packed busy this week. Well, hey, you know what? There's one day, Wednesday, and everybody probably shooting me in my foot, but I would say Wednesday, hey, we're not taking any work. We're going to have this meeting because we do need to have our quarterly meeting, and work won't ever stop. Well, it will stop, but it won't
Right.
slow down for us to really get this because of the movie industry schedules. You think one day you don't have anything on the board, and next thing you got 5 jobs. So, so it's one of those things where it's like, hey, we have to designate a day, a time, and hey, if we get through this meeting and get through the agenda the way we need to get through it, we can take some afternoon work in. But, the morning we're going to cut off. And the reason why we brought in every department was because there was always someone to say something about the next department and how it was their fault that something wasn't going in alignment. And I was like, you know what? We're not going to do that back and forth where I'm like, oh, well, hey, we're having a sales manager. And we just had the operations meeting the other day. And they said that basically because sales was doing it this way, that they were dropping the ball this way. Well, and then sales is saying, oh, well, we did this. Now I can't report that back to operations until our next meeting. I'm not doing that. So we're going to bring everybody in one room, hash it all out. It's a little rowdy in the beginning because we haven't had a meeting in a very long time. And then it's our duty from leadership standpoint to quiet the noise as the meeting goes throughout, where it's like, okay, hey, we heard your concerns. We heard your concerns. Okay, how can we go about fixing this? What's the solution? Because we're not about just taking in all these problems. We want to know if there's a solution in the room and if everybody can buy into the solution.
All right, guys, my name is Brandon. I'm with Max Move Management, and here's 11 steps on how to have a perfect move. The first one, the office should call, or your dispatcher should call the customer 2 days prior to arrival. The reason for this is just in case the customer has a closing on the house, maybe they weren't able to secure, a babysitter for the child or a pet sitter. You definitely want to call 2 days in advance. This helps the customer be prepared, and you make sure that you as well know that you're going to a customer that's also prepared. 2, the crew should also call the customer prior to arrival to the home. After the guys have already geared up, you got all your equipment in your truck, you got your address punched into your GPS, go ahead and either the driver or the helper, give the customer a call or a quick text, let them know that you're en route to your location, and provide them with the ETA. This also sets the expectation for the customer to be back home just in case they want to drop their kids off to school. For the third one, look to keep the customer happy, break the ice in the beginning. So pretty much this means when you walk up to the house, knock on the door with your best mannerism that your mother taught you, or father, you knock on the door, introduce yourself. Hi, my name is Brandon. I'm the foreman. This is my helper. And you introduce the team that you have with you.
It really, the biggest thing is getting that culture of how can I help? For us, like it's interesting. Chrissy, my co-host, she always refers to most core value statements as shitty wall art. Because that's so many of them. That's all they are. It's just shitty wall art. Yeah. For us, I mean, it dawned on me. It just hit me one day that for us, success is a shared thing. Is our core value as a company. If I will be successful, if my employees are successful, I'm guaranteed to be successful. If our customers are successful, guess what? We're going to be successful too. And so for us, when we made that switch from saying, and this happened in the truck dealership too, when we went from, well, sales did this and then parts did this, and then that's what made it so, no. Let's go back to, don't tell me that you have a headache. Let's figure out why we have a headache. And then let's figure out, like, okay, where did this stem from? Is this a stroke, or is this just you're aggravated, or did you not drink enough water? It's going back to find out where the problem stems from, and then saying, okay, 90% of the time, it's a simple fix. The problem is no one wants to take the blame for having a problem. And we found that we were able to streamline so many things because we started removing these barriers. Well, parts didn't fill out this sheet right. Okay, do you look at the sheet? Well, no. Well, why do we give a shit if parts fills the sheet out? It's coming back to those problems, and rather than saying, "Hey, this is finger pointing," it's, "Hey, you know what? If service didn't end up with the right part, why? If someone screwed up, someone screwed up. Great, that happens." We were big on standard operating procedures on so many things because we found that if there is an issue, we would go back and look and say, okay, did someone just go off the reservation and not do the standard operating procedure? If so, we need to correct that. If they needed to go off the standard operating procedure, okay, do we need to rewrite the procedure because we're starting to see something new in the industry so we can get better? Those were the two pieces that we kind of had as that push-pull, like, okay, and it made it very easy. Dude, you screwed up. Don't do it again. Okay, great. Sorry. I'll pay more attention.
How how oftentimes, Josh, did you, when you had those things, did you revisit? Is it the process or is it the person? Because I know back in my day, we had all these finger pointing pieces like that, and it's easy to point at someone and say you screwed up, right? But I tried to peel that back a little bit. How did they screw up? Why did they screw up? Was it, did they just said, hey, I don't care and this is what I'm going to do? Or again, do they have obstacles and hurdles that they're jumping over that us as leaders and owners of our companies can remove to kind of stop the madness? So we tested, we had issues like this. We would go ahead and tweak the process before we blamed it on the person, right? We said, take the names away from the situation. Let's look at the buckets. Let's look at the roles. Let's look at the positions. Hey, I think this is a process piece. Let's tweak it. We tweak it. We monitor, again, fail fast if it's not working. And after a couple process tweaks, it was pretty clear. Hey, is it a broken process? Or, oh, no. This is an actual person problem. And I found, at least through my journey, is a lot of the time, it wasn't the person. It was the process. It was the obstacles and the hoops I had to jump over, the manual redundancies and things of that nature, why that mistake happened. And I've never been a fan, and I hate to jump back a couple minutes here about the meetings. Yes, quarterly planning meetings, 100%. But these hour-plus long sales meetings, we have a guy in the room. Hey, we got to increase by 20%. Well, what does that mean? Break that down. Like, what does 20% mean? Is that booking an extra job a day? Is that booking 2 extra jobs per week? Let's break this down so it's understandable. And it makes sense to our team. And we were big fans of the 15-minute max daily huddle. I know, Dwight, we've battled back and forth on this a million times, but this was a push meeting. Right. So you had all the heads, you had sales, ops, finance, dispatch, and then, somebody from the executive team, and everybody had their role of, hey, sales, pump out what you have. Ops, give us the blockers. Where's the bottlenecks? Finance, who's 30, 60, 90 days? Let's tie that back into. And then obviously the overarching piece of ownership. Hey, here's the direction that we're heading this piece. And we did that every single day, 10 to 15 minutes max. And it was amazing how much more and well we gelled as a company, as well as we could actually forecast and see potential blockers and speed bumps coming ahead, almost like a pilot when they project turbulence, right? I mean, you look back in the day, you didn't know when turbulence was coming. You'd be sitting on a nice smooth flight and all of a sudden, bang, holy shit, there's my drink. And now when you look at flights, literally they come out, hey, we see a little bit of rough air coming, and within 5 seconds, you're there. So I think the ability to kind of project that turbulence, as you're seeing kind of in the airlines now, is like real time versus that lag effect. It's nice to know, hey, we've got a dead body here. That's great. But as you said, Jeff, how do we diagnose those symptoms long prior to? How do we become better doctors in our industry? If we know somebody's sick, that's great. How did they get sick? Were they touching nastiness and touching their eye? Like, no. Like, how do we become better doctors versus better coroners, I would say, because once it's dead, it's already dead, my man. There's not much you can do at that point.
It's funny. I love how you put that. To me, I was slower to change process. We spent a lot of time writing the process up front. And every industry is different in terms of how, when you're moving stuff in and out of places, I know there's a lot of stuff that's the same every time. And I know there's a lot of stuff that's different when someone says, like, hey, here's a weird shaped piano. Go ahead and get it out of my, what? So to me, I was slow to change process. If something was messed up, I would say, okay, if it wasn't a human issue where someone just screwed their job up, I would look at it and be like, okay, this happened once. I'm not going to change the process if we have an outlier. If we've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 outliers that seem to happen in a row, now we need to change the process. I don't want to change my whole process. It is I don't want to change the whole process for a one-time thing. I want to make sure it's going to happen a couple of times before I'm going to go start looking at things and changing those. The one that I'll go back to too in terms of communication that initially, real quick, managers hated. I went to quarterly reviews. They're like, why do we, I don't want to give my employees a review every quarter. And I'm like, they want it every quarter, because what happens when you give that annual review and they get to the end of the year and you give them a raise and they're like, well, this isn't what I expected. They're either okay with it or they're pissed off at you. But no time during the year did you tell them, hey, you're doing great, or hey, you're not doing great. Tell them 3 or 4 times throughout the year, you've opened up that communication, and suddenly you've got a team that knows where they're at, they know where they're standing. And once again, if they screw that one thing up, they realize that, okay, maybe that quarter they did a little worse, but they've got 3 other great quarters and they're probably going to get a raise.
Jeez.
What?
Now, you hit it right on the nose with that, and we've had that conversation back and forth. And now whether you give them some sort of monetary increase on that quarterly base of that performance, or you just kind of like give them feedback and then lead them into the 1 year increase. And Ryan hates this because he's like, you know what, giving them $1 or giving them $2 raise at the end of the year is nothing, because you know it's going to get eaten up in taxes. And
I'm all about, no, I like the quarterly piece, but I always tie it back into, right? Like, I'm an ex athlete, washed up, whatever you want to call it, but I see business no different as a game. We'll just take football. Football is not my game. It was baseball, right? You got 4 quarters, right? But there's that scoreboard is on. That clock is ticking throughout that entire game. So I'm okay with, everybody just thinks rapidly different, but I'm okay with the quarterly pieces of kind of that checkup and what have you. But I'm more about a daily scorecard, right? So you as a salesperson, or you as an ops guy, whatever, you should be able to look at a dashboard and know, am I winning? Am I losing? Or, oh my gosh, or am I tied? At this point. So I think if you had the right metrics and KPIs and proper dashboards, I mean, that's how we operated, which was a little bit advanced for its time. We had scorecards every single day. Like, there was no question whether you were winning or you were losing. There just wasn't.
I'm gonna throw something back at you on that one. You ever have a bad game?
Oh, 100%.
So
100%.
To me, I don't want to change my entire business because of one bad game. I want to wait. If I've got 4 or 5 bad games in a row, I'm hunting for a pitcher. If someone's got a bad game, someone's got a bad game, and they happen, it's part of business. None of us want to admit that, but being resilient enough to be like, today sucked. Tomorrow we're gonna make some corrections. But once again, I feel like moving slowly on a daily basis, moving quick on a quarterly basis, seems to work, because it lets people be comfortable with where they're at and they know what they're doing.
I'm in 100% agreement and alignment with you on that one. If you had a bad day or a bad game, that was okay, right? Because to us and our team, you learned more from that loss than you did that win. Like, I didn't care that I booked 10 jobs that day. That was great. High five me later. Why did I lose that $122,000 job? I thought that was a job. So that was where my focus was, not on all the wins. It was, how do I highlight the losses? How do I raise the losses up to our team? And let's talk about them. And, that was very hard to do for me, at least for a while, calling a customer that we didn't earn their business or their trust and asking them why. A lot of times, hey, they didn't like the presentation. It wasn't necessarily that they didn't like me. It just, maybe I didn't check the right boxes.
Right.
Maybe I didn't highlight and talk about the right things. So for me, having that daily scorecard of when I did lose that game that day, I want to know why. And I wanted to sink my claws in as to why at all times.
Definitely. And I would say, all right, Josh, so we are at the top of the time. We definitely got to invite Josh back, because this topic can go on forever. And
Definitely.
And it's amazing how, again, every leader leads kind of differently, but the same. There's no ABC approach to leadership. You're going to find the right way that leads you, the way that, you can feel comfortable in your own shell. But there is a right way to lead. And this is the type of conversations we have on this show where it's like, hey, you don't always have to lead with an iron fist and say, go and do that or you're fired. You have to kind of, is nowadays that you have to incorporate hey, I need you to go do this, and here's the reason why. Because without a reason why, there is no buy-in.
Right.
There's just somebody's telling me to do something, and I don't know why they want me to do it. So I'll do it maybe because it's my job, but they're not going to get the best results.
No, and they'll be grumpy about it.
And that's a term I always say. I'll do it because it's my job, or that's not my job. Like I hear those terms like, that's not my job. Like, excuse me? You mean it's not your job? Like, yeah, what was it? Not necessarily in the actual, no, but like we're one team here, right? There's time that teammates need to step up, but that was one thing, or, it's because, we always done it this way, or that's not my job. Those were the two things that when I'd hear, it still today makes my skin crawl, or, oh, that's over my head. That's above my pay grade. When I hear those three statements, I'm just like, man, what's the culture like inside your organization? That's above my pay grade, so I'm not even going to talk on it. Like, oh gosh, you got work to do. Not you guys, but you know what I'm saying.
All right, Josh. So if you want to take it away, let us know, let the audience know if they how they can reach you, if you're looking for more business, etc.
Always. I mean, if you want to follow like what we do podcasting wise, it's Pedal Stomper Productions. From some of the leadership conversations, like I said, my co-host Chrissy is brilliant. I feel lucky to be in the same room with her. If you want to look up The Business Fix, that would be all of our socials. We're on YouTube. We're on podcast platforms. She is a delightfully entertaining woman. And we typically have quite a bit of fun together in the studio. So yeah, those would be the places to find. I truly appreciate the opportunity to talk with you guys today. Obviously, a lot of fun, and it's educational. It's always interesting to hear other people's perspectives, and especially from other industries.
Definitely. So we definitely got to have you back. We'll talk offline. But for everybody else, y'all go out there, keep crushing it. We are going into the snowy part of the year for the up north. I actually had my first snowstorm. But hey, we got to still drive in sales. That is going to always be key. So make sure you are dialing in your marketing. Make sure you are managing it from a financial standpoint and not just throwing money out there. But keep crushing it. We'll see y'all next week. Ryan, anything?
No, we're good. I'm just, getting ready to head out again. I thought my work travels was done for the year. And lo and behold, we had to book a flight the other day. So we'll be back on the road, hopefully up in the air and back down one last time before vacation December. And then I need to relax, rewind, and reflect. It's been an incredible year. Just very fortunate and thankful to be a part of one hell of an organization that, again, truly thrives on incredible culture and all things that we've talked about today. Like, I'm just so blessed to work in an organization that does lead from behind, gives me autonomy to go out there and do what I love to do, and not only challenge myself, but to challenge others in this industry. So for all the ones out there, get uncomfortable. I hate that old tagline: success breeds complacency, complacency breeds failure. Stay paranoid, everybody. Because I tell you, once you become successful and you get that comfortableness, failure is right around the corner if you're not uncomfortable and you're not staying paranoid. So I'm going to end with that.
All right. All right, y'all. Y'all take care. We'll see y'all soon.